I saw this article right before I set up my show for the day. I was deciding to be chill because I feel like the past couple days has been like kind of hard in the paint. Um, I was going to talk about the prison thing that I mentioned yesterday, which I will. Also, live service games versus the buy it once, play it forever games, stuff like that, and also a little bit of Elden Ring. And man, I saw this and was just like, I feel like this is another one of those things that people were distracted by. Like journalism is just being shot down. Let me explain. Look at this. Okay. Embattled misinformation researchers celebrate key U.S. Supreme Court decision. This sucks, guys. Listen to this. The justices rule that the U.S. government can keep talking to scientists and social media firms with the aim of curbing falsehoods online. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like, guys. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the government can continue communicating with researchers and social media platforms in an effort to reduce misinformation on subjects such as elections and vaccines. Great. The decision stops short of declaring that such activities are protected as free speech under the U.S. Constitution. But it nonetheless represents a win for researchers who continue to face lawsuits alleging that they worked with the government to suppress conservative opinions. This is shit. This is trash. This is like, so do we have free speech or not? Are we allowed to fucking talk to each other or no? This is, you remember the Twitter files? I went over the Twitter files a lot when they were being exposed on the show. And I mean, all I saw was the CIA, the FBI, they were embedded in Twitter and basically manipulating what information was allowed to be talked about, who was going to get banned, what kind of propaganda was going to be pushed, all of this stuff. It all was going down on Twitter. We can only assume that it's every single social media company. This is why they're going after Elon Musk so hard in the paint. It's because of this kind of shit. This ruling is a major victory for independent research. Independent research. We do the independent research. Not you. Independent research? That's not what this is protecting. This is protecting the people that want to control the narrative. What the fuck are you talking about? This is Rebecca Tromble, who leads the Institute for Data, Democracy, and Politics. Listen to that freaking, the Institute for Data, Democracy, and Politics. Holy crap. Listen to that title. Jeez, what a combination. At George Washington University in Washington, D.C., of course, of all places. In rejecting the conspiracy theories at the heart of the case, the Supreme Court demonstrated that facts do still matter. I have 12 strikes on my channel. 12. Okay? 5 of them are for election misinformation. 4 of them are from, actually, one of them's from hate speech. That was hilarious. And then, actually, I think it's 4, 4, and 1. So 4 for medical misinformation, 4 for election misinformation, and then 1 for hate speech. And then 3 for some bullshit because some guy made me some thumbnails and he attacked my channel for it. Anyway, it turns out that a lot of the things that I've said on this show that I got strikes for on YouTube have now since been proven correct. Now you're allowed to talk about the 2020 election being stolen. You're allowed to talk about that on YouTube, right? Now, of course, you're not allowed to talk about certain things with the vaccines. Even saying that word might get a disclaimer under my right down below here. It's happened many times on my channel, and I'm sure I'm on some sort of watch list since I've gotten all those strikes in the past. Now, I had a warning, which is in itself a strike. So technically it's 13, but the warnings are never considered a strike. They're just once you get a warning, you get strikes after that. So now I have no warning on my channel. So if I were to get a strike, it would be a warning. I had to take a struggle session, which is answering questions on what would be allowed in a video. If you said this in a YouTube video, would that be allowed? Yes or no? And it was many questions like that. Basically a struggle session, and I found it hilarious because I knew exactly what to say that would get the warning removed. Whether or not I believed it or wanted to follow through with that is a different story. But this this is saying that Americans don't have the right to say whatever they want online on other people's platforms, thus proving that these platforms are publishing and publishers. Therefore, aren't they removing their protections? Hmm? I think so. Because what is it? What is it? What is the section that protects them? Um, I forget. Um, Chat, help me out. What is the code? Section 311? No, not 3. What am I thinking of? Why can't I think of it? Having a brain fart right now. 215? No. Is that it? Section 240. Text 230. That's right. Section 230. Where they have protections from being sued because they're a platform. They don't control who's on their platform. Thank you. Yeah, section 230. And if they are choosing what is being published or put on their platform, then they become a publisher and thus relinquishing their protections of section 230. So this is weird because from what I've gathered over the past couple weeks, especially talking to the guys over at InfoWars, watching the way InfoWars has been basically dismantled. Granted, you could never kill InfoWars. InfoWars is going to live forever. And watch them rise from the ashes. Anyway, I've realized that a lot of these government, DoD, the Pentagon, CIA, FBI, all these factions of the government, they are stifling Americans' freedom of speech illegally. It reminds me of a phrase, legal illegalities. I love that phrase because it really sums up a lot of the government right now. Legal illegalities. It's not constitutional, but it's kind of like this weird gray area where they are operating by controlling Americans, but it's not necessarily illegal on the surface. But when you think about what they're actually manipulating these companies to do, it is actually not unconstitutional, right? Because you see that they're actually suppressing Americans' speech, which is crazy to me that the Supreme Court would reach this decision, saying the government can work with these companies to stop misinformation. That's insane. That to me that's saying the Supreme Court just shit over the First Amendment. Freedom of speech, man. Well, you can't like am I not allowed to speak online? I guess not. Oh, well, you know, it's a private company. They can do what they want. Well, then why are they going after Elon Musk so bad? It's because he's allowing people to have these conversations. Now, I'm sure he has to abide by some sort of rules, but for the most part, people X has turned into the wild wild west again of the internet. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter/X, you know that I don't know. I'm kind of like spicy, sure. I don't hold back. I mean, in general, I don't hold back. I'm very blunt with my personality. That's just kind of the person that I am. But on X, I kind of push it a lot. Metastep has a great point. One step closer to 1984. I mean, honestly, it feels like it goes above and beyond. Men are women, women are men. kids aren't your kids anymore. The government controls everything, and you're not allowed to speak. It's insane. This ruling just I'm still kind of I found this right before I went live. In fact, it's part of the reason why I was a little late because I was looking at this and I'm like, is this real? Like, holy shit. And then I'm like, oh man, the time. I'm a little late. I got to talk about this. It's crazy. In the past 4 years, US researchers have run two high profile rapid response projects, both led jointly by the Stanford Internet Observatory in California, of course, and by the University of Washington in Seattle, both liberal strongholds, to track, report, and counter disinformation, which deliberately intends to mislead and misinformation, which is inaccurate but not necessarily fueled by malicious intent, but always going in one direction, always going against their narrative. If it's propaganda, if it's disinformation, misinformation, all the stuff that suits them, they're 100% okay with it. Let's take it for example, Snopes. Finally, 7 years later, just now changed their "Did Trump call the neo-Nazis very fine people?" The very fine people hoax that has been spread for freaking years by the Democrats. They finally changed it. Now, why? I don't know. That's quite odd to me. But they've been running with that forever. Now, if it was on the other side, if it was the cheap fakes that they're claiming are, it's always in one direction. It's always anti-American. I mean, really, let's to the heart of it all is it's the one that anti-sovereignty, anti for the people, right? They claim that they're the proper, the good side, good versus evil. Republicans are evil. Some of them are, but for the most part, I mean, Democrats are holy shit demons. This is insane to me. Both projects, the researchers flagged virally spreading falsehoods as quickly as they could to social media companies and U.S. agencies, and the reports were released publicly. At the same time, the federal government was also pointing out this type of problematic content to Facebook and other platforms. All I can think about is the Twitter files. That's all I can think about. We know about the Twitter files. We know how embedded these government programs were. They were basically controlling all of it. Many conservative activists and politicians thought that these efforts were politically motivated and targeted Republican voices, including those who posted online incorrectly and without evidence that the 2020 US presidential election was rigged. I mean, it was. They have launched congressional investigations and brought multiple lawsuits, including the one against the U.S. government that the Supreme Court decided today. This case was originally filed in May of 2022 in a federal district court in Louisiana by plaintiffs, including the then Attorney Generals of Missouri and Louisiana, both of whom had also challenged whether the U.S. President Joe Biden actually won the 2020 election. In their ruling today, the Supreme Court's justices rejected the plaintiff's claim, noting that social media platforms are private entities that began making their own decisions about how to moderate content well before the U.S. government contacted them about misinformation. There's no specific evidence that government pressure to remove falsehoods unduly influenced those decisions, the court ruled, nor was there any evidence of harm. The Supreme Court has yet to rule on the related case focused on the U.S. state regulations that attempt to limit social media companies' ability to regulate conversations on their platform. I gotta just go back real quick. This right here, this is wild because this absolutely happened. This 100% happened. I I was part of that. I was one of those voices that was being shut down because of the things that I was talking about. The election being rigged or straight up stolen. Insane. This is crazy. It remains to be seen how the ruling will impact lawsuits against scientists, but legal scholars and misinformation researchers contacted by Nature say that today's ruling represents a clear win for academic freedom. I- It's just like, they're just gaslighting us all. They're People are going to read this, Democrats, clueless people are going to read this and be like, "Yes, democracy is saved." And it's like, this is fascism. The government and the corporations working together to control our voices. Am I wrong? Am I missing something? I just, to me, this is crazy that they're like, in the same breath, being excited that government is getting more control over our lives. Just, wow. Elated and vindicated was the response to Nature from Kate Starbird, a misinformation researcher at the University of Washington in Seattle, who was involved in both academic efforts to combat misinformation. Fucking hell. Yes, you are wrong. It's left wing. I know it's left wing. What? What do you mean? This is insane. This is These are the left wing people freaking super excited that they get to shut down their political opponents. Crazy, man. This is why you're never going to figure anything out. Tiresome? What? I don't know what you're talking about, Vienna. Fascism is not left wing. Oh, now that's funny. Oh man. Thanks for that laugh. That was good. I needed that. Fucking idiot. Oh, here's the left wing celebrating the fact that the government is working with big corporations, controlling the population, which is what fascism is. You're saying the left wing isn't fascism. Thank you for that laugh. That's funny. I appreciate you. I know you probably didn't mean it, but to make me laugh. You probably think that you're so smart. All right, let's finish. Sorry. Oh, that's funny. Let's finish reading this article. One of the two rapid response programs connected to today's decision, the Electoral Integrity Partnership. They always sound so protective. National Defense Authorization Act, the Patriot Act. Anyway, the Electoral Integrity Partnership kicked off in early September of 2020 and ran for 11 weeks. Oh, what a perfect timing to counter misinformation. Right before, remember the laptop from hell that came out in October of 2020? Remember that? Yeah. Make sure, I'm really glad that they got it. They took care of that. Researchers scoured Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms for misinformation about the 2020 U.S. presidential election and generated more than 600 tickets to flag questionable posts to the platforms. Most of the false narratives identified were associated with the political right. Around 35% of them were labeled later labeled, removed, and restricted by the companies. Give you one guess on when my first strike was. You guys want to guess, or should I just tell you? You're right. If you guessed within those 11 months, you got it. That's right. Absolutely. Because I was talking about those election irregularities. We'll just be nice about it. No, fuck it. All the evidence that was very clear that it was being stolen, the votes being pulled up in the middle of the night, all the shit. Yeah. I think my first strike was actually medical misinformation. But anyway, it was also in that window though, because I remember it being after I went solo, because I didn't get a strike until I left Timcast, and that was in August of 2020. So I started basically in September of 2020 on my solo show. Anyway, the researchers then adapted this model to create the virality project, which ran from February to August of 2021. They notified U.S. health authorities as well as social media companies of more than 900 instances of problematic social media posts relating to the COVID-19 pandemic, most of which focused on falsehoods about vaccines. Again, that was me. I'm reading about the people that probably flagged my shit. That's what this is. In addition to filing the lawsuit that the Supreme Court ruled on today, conservative activists have peppered researchers with public records requests and filed other suits accusing the academics behind the two projects of colluding with the federal government to curtail free speech. I mean, this that's what they're doing. That's what this is about. They're saying that that's what they're doing. That what? This is insane. Fucking shit. They're blaming us of doing this thing that the Supreme Court just said that we're allowed to do. So ha. Fuck. This is such a wild article. Holy shit. Wow. Researchers and legal scholars call the accusation absurd. It's absurd that you're accusing us of doing that what we're telling you that we're doing. They also argue that and they say that there is no evidence for it. I'm sorry, let me just oh my gosh. This is crazy, dude. This is crazy. That was a wild couple sentences, man. The past couple paragraphs are just like, we've been doing this. These people think that we're doing that, but they're wrong. and this is coming from the fact checkers that are looking online for misinformation. Wow. Jeez, this is crazy, man. Yeah. Frank, I read that article. All right. The Time Magazine, The Secret History, the Shadow Campaign that saved the 2020 election. It's all about how they fortified it, right? Crazy. This is insane. We got to finish reading this. Okay. I'm going to read this sentence again because it's so wild. Researchers and legal scholars call the accusation absurd and say there is no evidence for it. Yeah. They also argue that academics, too, have a right to free speech and that they were exercising that right by studying and flagging falsehoods online. Oh, but it was biased. It was so obviously biased. Holy shit. No evidence, my ass. The other lawsuits are likely to continue for now, Tromble said. However, she notes that the Supreme Court's dismantling of the plaintiff's argument in today's ruling should certainly help researchers being sued by individuals and organizations making similarly distorted claims. Yeah, of course, it'll protect you and yours. The lawsuit by conservative activists have sparked fear among misinformation researchers, and changes to the online environment have made it harder for them to carry out their work. Here we go. For instance, after billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk bought Twitter, now called X, he instituted policies that cut off academic access to data on the platform. Here we go, people. Here it is. Many other social media companies have also backed away from efforts to moderate content for accuracy. Yeah. Because people are going, fuck your social media. We're going to where we can speak freely, right? And X is that place right now. So is Rumble. Yeah. And I guess as soon as you get say Rumble on YouTube, they like demonetize you or whatnot. But like YouTube ain't doing me no favors. All right. I've been bleeding subscribers. My own mother gets unsubscribed all the time from me. So, you know, whatever. Fuck YouTube. Oh, here we go. All of this has discouraged efforts by government agencies and academics to identify and counter false narratives. Just you see the way that this is written? This is insane. It's just I mean, we could read between the lines of what they're actually saying here. All of this has discouraged the government agencies to and academics to promote and restrict anything that goes against their narrative. Identify and counteract false narratives? That's just insane to hear that. Says Gauri Ramachandran, deputy director of the Brennan Center for Justice, a think tank in New York City. Of course, always in a blue stronghold that advocates for voting rights. All three of these people that have been talking and making these decisions are women. Just saying. I'm just putting that out there. Protecting and making safe spaces. All right? Don't get me wrong. I love women, but it's always the fucking women. Okay, anyway. She adds that this is of particular concern as the United States prepares for the next presidential election in which Biden and Trump are already preparing to face off once again in November. For its part, Stanford University has ended its rapid response work on the misinformation projects and laid off 2 staff members involved. Boo-hoo. Although researchers will continue to work on election misinformation this year, the decision to halt the rapid response work had nothing to do with a fear of litigation or congressional investigation, says Jeff Hancock, director of the Stanford Internet Observatory. God, these freaking names for these places. Acknowledging fundraising challenges, he says that he decided to align a center's work with his own research interests after the previous director of the observatory left. Well, okay, so you're shifting funds to fund your own shit. Oh, selfish prick. However, conservative lawmakers and advocates celebrated the news. Yeah, because of freedom. Jeez. Quote, big win. The U.S. House of Representatives Judiciary Committee posted on X on June 14th. It then celebrated the robust oversight of committee leader Jim Jordan, a Republican representative from Ohio who voted to overturn the 2020 election results. Jordan has launched congressional investigations of academics linked to the election and the health misinformation projects. Regardless of why Stanford shut the program down, the decision gives a boost to the politicians who undermined the 2020 election. Oh my God. Here we go again. That says Renee DiResta, one of the staff members at the Stanford Observatory, whose position was not renewed this year. The right wing is doing victory laps. Every university should be horrified by this. This reminds me of all these freaking people that are like, if Trump wins, he's coming after me. Probably because you did some illegal shit, because you think you're morally superior and the end justifies the means, so you can do whatever the fuck you can to stop Trump. In fact, that's what Google said when he won in 2016. They said, we have to make sure it never happens again. Remember that? Zach Voorhees, a Google whistleblower, came out and said that back in 2017. All right, to Project Veritas, but now, of course, fuck that company because they ousted James O'Keefe. Anyway, that's a different conversation. Yeah, this is them being upset that they're losing control and celebrating a win that the Supreme Court has allowed them to maintain a little bit of grasp of their control. That's what this is. This article is insane. Hancock acknowledges as much, saying he's frustrated at how things have played out. I hate that this has been politicized. Oh, fuck you. For fuck's sakes. Seriously? You hate how this misinformation, disinformation shit has been politicized, that's you guys. You're all the ones doing it. I think Americans can say whatever the fuck they want. If you're going to believe someone on the internet just blindly, that's on you. Instead of doing your own research, I think everyone's a sovereign citizen and should be allowed to think what they want and not be told how to think. Fuck that. It's insane. With Stanford stepping aside, the kind of rapid response work that the Electoral Integrity Partnership conducted in 2020 will now be led by Starbird and her team at the University of Washington. In the 2021, the U.S. National Science Foundation awarded her and her partners $2.25 million over 5 years to continue their work on disinformation. I fucking hate that word, disinformation. Starbird says this year's project will not look like 2020's and will not include any reporting on social media platforms because people call them out on their fucking bullshit. That's why. They want to be behind the scenes. They want to go back to the era of no one knew that they were doing all this shit, manipulating the world around them in the shadows. That's what they want. They want to go back to that. Uh-huh. Yeah. Nor will it focus so much on X because they can't control it there. That's why. They don't have control over X anymore, so they're not going they have no control. Why would they go there? Yeah, because X isn't going to be like, "Yeah, all right, we'll ban this account because they're actually calling you out on your election misinformation or your disinformation lies." Hmm? Yeah. 'Cause people can actually say what they want. Insane. They're turning over to news sources such as Instagram and TikTok. Oh, of course, TikTok, where all the kids are, so they can manipulate their minds to convince them that they're the good guys and Republican Trump bad, and anyone who believes thinks for themselves is just a horrible human being and needs to be told that the sky is green and there's five lights. They're not going to win. They're not going to win. No, they're going to lose because people are waking up. I believe it. I think people know that they're bullshitting. I think they know that these different disinformation projects, misinformation projects, the cheap fake lies from the Biden administration, from the Democrats, everyone knows that these people are full of fucking shit. They know it. And they're sick of it. I know I am. How about you?